We have 3 exciting stories for you to watch, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to remain ahead of the competition. Welcome to Grand Prix, your go-to channel for the fastest updates in Formula One. Let's begin. An early update is planned for Red Bull's new vehicle. All teams are using the 3 days that are available to them to test and improve their newest vehicles in preparation for the 2025 Formula One preseason in Bahrain. One of the most anticipated developments is the new Red Bull Challenger, a car that has dominated the ground effect era but displayed vulnerabilities last year, allowing competitors to close the performance gap. However, new reports indicate that Red Bull is already planning a significant update to its car, which will be introduced this Friday, the last day of testing, according to Motorsport magazine. The RB21 may not have appeared to be a significant change from the previous year's car when it was first unveiled, but the team's focus was reportedly on making the machine easier to drive rather than just maximizing raw speed. However, there are still questions about whether losing Adrian Newey's influence has affected the team's ability to maintain its competitive edge with Newey stepping back. Red Bull engineers have been working behind the scenes on a major upgrade, refining several areas of the car that were initially conceived late in the development process. These new components were tested and finalized just in time for the end of preseason. The engineering team at Red Bull must now steer development in a new direction, while making sure the vehicle can still compete for championships in spite of these uncertainties. Max Verstappen is still a serious candidate for the championship, but some experts predict that his route to triumph in 2025 may be more difficult than in previous years. The Dutch driver barely won the championship the previous year, and as competing teams like Ferrari and McLaren keep becoming better, the risk, however, is that introducing major changes on the final day of testing leaves little room for adjustments. If the updates do not deliver the expected performance, the team will need to gather data quickly and compare Thursday's performance with Friday's upgraded package to ensure they make the right call for the first race. Red Bull is under pressure to make early strategic adjustments to stay ahead. This Friday's update is expected to bring notable changes to the car's underfloor, a crucial area for generating downforce in the current regulations. The big question is whether Red Bull made the right decision in releasing these updates so early or if they should have waited until after the first few races. This would allow them to improve their race setup prior to the Bahrain Grand Prix, but if the changes prove difficult to optimize, they might have to rely on future updates once the season starts. Please share your opinions with us as we monitor the development of these modifications. In order to make sure you don't miss any important changes, we briefly discussed the FIA's proposed required 2 pit stop rule for the 2025 Monaco Grand Prix a few days ago. This is significant news for the 2025 Formula One season. Here at GPM, we provide you with daily Formula One news, so be sure to subscribe and enable notifications. CAFA never wastes time and always gets right to the point. The FIA has confirmed a major rule change for the Monaco Grand Prix that will take effect in the 2025 season. The new rule requires all drivers to make at least 2 pit stops during the race instead of the current requirement of just 1 stop. Additionally, drivers must use at least 2 different tire compounds throughout the race, even if the track is wet. This means that teams will need to carefully manage their pit strategy even in the face of changing weather conditions. The FIA hopes that this change will add excitement to the Monaco Grand Prix, which has been heavily criticized in recent years for its lack of overtaking opportunities and predictable race results. Why is the FIA altering its regulations? One of the most famous races in Formula One history is Monaco. However, with today's vehicles, passing is practically impossible due to the circuit's narrowness. With the introduction of a mandated second stop, the current race structure frequently leads to processional races, where overtaking only occurs through pit stop strategies or unforeseen events. The FIA wants to force teams to use alternative racial approaches in order to boost strategic diversity. Fans may find the event considerably more interesting if there are more pit stops because there are more chances for undercuts, overcuts, and erratic changes in the racing order. While some have praised this rule change, Others contend that it may not be sufficient to fully address Monaco's overtaking issue. This rule change is in line with F1's recent efforts to enhance racing quality on street circuits, where overtaking has proven to be particularly difficult. According to some insiders, a two-stop rule by itself won't substantially change the dynamics. Rather, the circuit layout itself is the true problem. There have been discussions about modifying the track layout or making cars narrower and shorter in future regulations to better suit Monaco's unique challenges. However, such changes would require massive planning and logistical adjustments. Making a rule-based change like this pit stop mandate the more immediate solution teams will now have to rethink their strategies from Monaco, as managing tire degradation and timing pit stops correctly will become even more crucial. Any miscalculation could result in drivers losing track position, which is incredibly hard to recover on this circuit. The future of Monaco GP. This move by the FIA suggests that they are actively working to enhance the spectacle of street circuit races, and if the change proves successful, we might see similar regulations introduced at other tracks where overtaking is limited, with Formula One consistently looking for ways to improve race excitement. This could be the first of many new rule adaptations to ensure the Monaco GP remains a thrilling and strategic race for drivers, teams, and fans alike. What do you think? Will this two-stop rule actually improve the Monaco GP, or is it just a small fix for a much bigger problem? The 2024 season came to a somewhat tense end for Max Verstappen and Lando Norris after the two drivers engaged in a number of intense on-track altercations that resulted in heated discussions both on and off the track. Given their growing rivalry and competitive advantage, it was only natural for reporters and journalists to take advantage of any chance to meet them and ask them about their relationship. When asked how things were between them today, Verstappen quickly added a little humor to the situation, making fun of the tension and making sure that everyone, even Norris, laughed. The media room erupted in laughter when Verstappen smirked and sarcastically responded that they were best friends. His ability to lighten the situation with humor not only made it more enjoyable, but it also demonstrated that he is not one to hold grudges. Norris is always up for a good prank. Swiftly agreed with Verstappen's remark, adding to the situation's exaggeration. He joked that their relationship had always been peaceful and that the media had only been exaggerating their violent racing incidents. Of course, everyone knew he was being sarcastic, which made the exchange even more entertaining, while the jokes helped defuse the tension. Eventually, Norris took a more somber stance, admitting that competitors will always have heated moments. He explained that rivalries in Formula One will always exist, especially when two drivers are fighting at the front. The intensity of those battles often causes emotions to run high. But at the end of the day, both he and Verstappen understand that this is just a part of the sport. Norris also noted that 2025 is looking to be an even more competitive season, with more teams expected to join the battle for victories and the championship. With more contenders in the mix, he and Verstappen know that things won't always go as planned. Norris emphasized that he and Verstappen are not at odds outside the track. He acknowledged that while they may not always agree during the heat of the moment, they share a mutual understanding of what it means to push for success at the highest level. Both drivers are looking forward to more thrilling wheel-to-wheel battles, knowing full well that intense moments will come again, but also recognizing that this is what makes Formula One so exciting. Looking ahead to the new season, the dynamic between Verstappen and Norris will be one of the most intriguing storylines to follow, with Red Bull still aiming to maintain its dominance and McLaren continuously closing the gap. Fans can expect even more thrilling showdowns between these two talented drivers. Whether their lighthearted approach will remain throughout the season is another question entirely. For now, however, the preseason banter between Verstappen and Norris has given fans a refreshing moment of humor before the serious racing begins. But once they are back on the grid, helmets on and lights out, there will be no room for jokes, only pure racing.